Welcome back to Aora. When last we left our hero, and I do use that term very loosely, she and her companions had fled from some kind of horrible windstorm and taken shelter in these Angwithan ruins. The ruins are now collapsing behind them, so they kind of have to find their way deeper in, find a place to catch their breath.
That should be far enough. But what now?
We look for another way out. Storm has to die sometime.
What happened out there? And Kalisha explains about the Beowick. It's something that only happens in Erglanfath. She says, it's the gods' way of reaping the souls of the land that couldn't find their own way out. But they'll take a living soul as soon as a dead one. Still got yours? The people who attacked us were Glanfathans, Fangs of Gallowayne. They're sort of a tribe that picks fights with colonists. They thought that we had trespassed in the ruins, but Kalisha knows Odema wouldn't have allowed that, so she's concerned there might actually be other people in the ruins with us. Unfortunately, nobody else in the caravan made it. As Kalisha says, the wheel has got hold of them now. Gods grant them better luck in their next lives. Reincarnation is a thing in Aora. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Right now, we have to find a way out of the ruins. Unfortunately, Hayden immediately face plants. He's not doing so great. He claws his way up the wall and back to his feet, but he's weaving like a drunken sailor.
Could we maybe stay here and rest a few hours? I've lost some blood. Seems quiet off to the left. Might be a place to rest there.
I hate to say this, but we can't afford to stay put. Those Glonfathans were riled about something. Could be we got company in here. Looters will be armed and ready to kill, and there's probably a lot of them. We can't be caught sleeping in their beds.
Please, I just need to lie down for a while. Then we can move as fast as you want.
Maybe you didn't hear me. We are gonna die in here if we don't get moving and get this place figured out before the looters come back. We've either got to find the exit or a damn good place to hide.
Now, generally when Tamwen is not being either deceptive or clever, she will choose to be rational. And of the two of them, she tends to trust Kalisha a little bit more because Kalisha's been around. She's a fighter. She's seen things like Tamwen. You know, Hayden is, he was a merchant. He comes from kind of a wealthy family. He strikes her as a little bit green. So she's going to go with Kalisha's assessment of the situation and say, we have to press on. We don't know what we're up against.
I'll do my best.
So they will continue scouting through here and looking for signs of other Kith. Kith, by the way, that's the term for basically any sapient beings that participate in Aoran civilization. So dwarves, elves, humans, Almala, Orlan are basically the 5 races of Kith.
Someone else has been here. We should move.
See if they left anything useful behind.
That's going to happen a couple of times, Kalisha and Hayden talking over each other. The game doesn't necessarily know that both of them make it this far with you, so they each have voice cues and they just speak at once. Well, we found what looked like the remains of a looter camp. The looters are nowhere to be seen, but we might as well take their stuff. You know, what goes around comes around. So they may be elsewhere in the ruins, perhaps. As we continue creeping along. So yes, any reference to Kith, it just means basically civilized people. And we're about to run into some other kinds of people who are not exactly civilized. And these are called wilder. In general, there are different species of them as well. This first little guy that we're going to run into is a Zarip. We're going to have lots more chance to talk about them later, so I won't go into an explanation. But what we get here is an encounter that you can get out of without combat. You can, be aggressive and then immediately start combat, but any of the other options, they don't immediately start a fight, but there's some loot right behind him, you can see, and if you try to pass him, then he gets mad regardless. So the only way to avoid fighting him is to just avoid this entire area, and, there's loot. And this is not a hard fight, so there is no reason to avoid it unless you just want to be like a super duper benevolent character who avoids combat at all costs. And you can absolutely do that. You won't miss out on too much loot, but I'm just a bit of... Hey, I'm talking, Kalisha. Don't tell me to shh. Anyway, I'm kind of a completionist, so I generally try to get everything I can. Oh, cool. There's some Adra coming up through the ground there. I love the luminous green color of the Adra in this art. Well, looks like we may have found one of the looters, and the contents of his pockets or bag or whatever seem to corroborate that guess, because there's a gem in here, some kind of Engwithan gem, and his journal, and you can read the details of that if you're interested. But anytime you get a unique object in the inventory that's not just random armor or weapons like you always find on people, it's usually a clue to something. We're going to just take all of this off of him.
Wait, do you hear that?
And what Kalisha is hearing is another sort of wilder. This guy here is a Skuldr. I think that's how you say it. They live in caves and dark places. They're almost completely blind, but they use shrieks and clicks to do sort of echolocation.
That's how it's done.
Unfortunately, those shrieks can also stun your party. So that's the problem with Skuldr. That was only one of them. Not too bad. So, continue.
That looks
I might
great.
be able to break
Should
through
be a
here
shortcut.
if I were feeling better.
There we go again. Now, you could break through this wall, but because we don't have anybody that's, like, if your watcher is super strong, you can just bash it. But we'd need a hammer and chisel. I might as well save that for later use, because anytime you use an object like, say, a grappling hook or hammer and chisel, it gets used up. And we might need it later. And there's no need to break through that wall because we're going to find the other side of it just by exploring this whole dungeon. And once again, I'm going to clear the whole map regardless. So I don't need to take any shortcuts or avoid any sections. I'm going to explore every single thing.
There's something you don't see every day.
Now, because we're in stealth mode, we can more easily detect that every single one of these is a trap. And I'll tell you, on hard mode at least, you trigger one of these, your entire party gets wiped. Game over, reload from your last save. These are brutal traps. You do not want to take these lightly. Now, Tamwen, Hayden is too, but he's injured, so I don't make him do anything. Tamwen could, in theory, disarm every single one of these one by one, but there's a slightly more efficient way to do this. And Tamwen suspects that there might be something interesting behind this door, maybe a way around, so she doesn't have to do any of those traps at all. What she finds instead are these pillars with the same symbols on them that the traps had. And she also finds this cool piece of art on the wall. It shows a procession of Engwithans from all the Kith races, and they're walking among pillars just like these, except there are flames at the top of them. Now, Tamwen has a torch, so she's like, I wonder if I could light this thing. And sure enough, and she can light all of them. If I back up a little, zoom out, you can see the pillars lighting up. I said this before, but I really love the style of the Engwithan ruins. Notice the copper trim in some of the places. It's not only attractive, but it actually kind of has a meaning and a purpose that we might learn more about later. Oh, oozes, a staple of classic fantasy dungeon crawling stories. Tamwen's like, Kalisha, you go first. Hayden's injured and I am extremely small. Tamwen's back there shooting at oozes, which is just kind of a hilarious image to me. Picture just firing bullets into sledge.
Be quiet.
What is that muck on the wall? Viscous and oily. So there's some kind of relief on the wall that's just covered in ooze. Tamwen uses her water skin to clear it off. And hey, there's one gem in its eye and the other one is empty. So we happen to have an eye-shaped gem. Stick it in the socket and it opens up a little secret door behind which is...
They'll never know I'm here.
Another ooze. But no worries. We got this. Oh, Tamwen got hit pretty hard. You can see her portrait. It's like a third red, but as soon as the guy's down, you can get all your endurance back. So, no problem. But the cool thing about this little secret door is a pretty nice cloak. I'll put those little pretty rocks in stash, and Tamwen is going to equip this cloak right away, and it'll show up in her little tan color because those are the colors we chose in character creation, and it's kind of nice that her armor will just turn whatever color you picked for her. So going back through this little forest of pillars here, we come back out to the traps and notice that
I'll take a peek.
A great number of them are no longer active. The ones that are glowing, though, they are still active, so you have to be very careful here. I'm going to singly select Tamwen. There's various ways to do character selection depending on which platform you're on.
There. What did I tell you?
But yeah, you can choose just one member of your party, so they don't all have to move at once.
There. What did I tell you?
And I just want to make sure that I don't...
What do we have here?
Accidentally drag Tamwen's pals onto one of these traps. They are brutal. Okay, now I can get everybody going.
Feels like there's a draft coming through that wall.
I think we found an exit.
Sounds like the storm sign of that
too.
storm either.
If you two could just take turns talking, that would be awesome. What's up ahead? Spiders. Once again, Tamwen's like, hey, Kalisha, could you just, take care of that? I'll be back here, firing from a distance. These are just little guys, though. Kalisha could probably take them out by herself. Can we take a moment to appreciate Tamwen's reloading and firing animations on her pistol? Just so cool. Check that out next time we're in a battle. Just watch her and how long it takes her to reload her pistol. It's very period appropriate, I think.
I could scout ahead, see what's around the corner.
Hayden, you sound like you're about to drop dead, so how about Tamwen does the scouting? If you manage to get through the first part of the game without injuring him, he has less pained sounding voice lines. 1, 2... I think it's just 2 Skuldr. Yeah, we got this. So Tamwen goes back and reports to Kalisha, but of course, once again, she says, "You first." I have a feeling Tamwen's going to be doing a lot of that scouting ahead and then telling other people to charge in first. I wonder about casting Blinding Strike on Skuldr. They can't see anyway. I'm actually genuinely curious. We haven't unlocked the information in them yet, information about them yet in the Bestiary, but I'm kind of curious to find out whether blinding works on them or not, because this game really does take things like that into account surprisingly often. We've killed 3 of these guys now, which means there might be a little bit of information unlocked in the Bestiary. That's another cool thing about the game that sort of mimics realism in a way. The more things you kill, the more you find out about them. Abilities are still question mark, question mark, question mark. But you can see like what their attributes are. They have very good perception despite being blind because of their ears. And it tells you, you know, what their different defenses are. We're going to talk more about those things later. Okay. Now, yes, we know about scouting mode tutorial. Here's the other side of that wall I was talking about. By the way, please excuse the fact that I always sound like I'm losing my voice slightly. I've tried to record this like 7 times, hoping that my voice would stop being like that, but that's just how my voice is now. We're just going to have to deal with it. More spiders. Kalisha first. Oh, there's kind of a big one there. Let's take the little guy out first. And now we can all gang up on his mommy. If I wanted to be fancy, I could have flanked her, you know, but these just aren't really even hard battles yet, so we don't need to get deeply into combat tactics and strategy and stuff yet. We're just trying to find our way out of this ruin. And there's the exit, but there's one more little room off here to the side. And one more body from another looter. Not carrying anything too exciting now. A couple more little gemstones. Those are things that you use for enchanting, just like the plants that I showed you out in the wild, that and animal parts. Those will all be used to enchant armor and weapons and shields. Finally, fresh air, and it sounds like the storm's died down. So we should be in the clear now, right? Four figures stand before an otherworldly apparatus. Standing motionless in their midst is what appears to be a human body, colorless as ash. The other figures gaze upon it in what might be contemplation, and you're obscured from their view, thankfully. Because whatever's going on here does not look good. The figure closest to the machine has a thick gray beard and a metallic mask. His robes are embroidered with a runic language that's unlike anything you've ever seen, and he wears a headdress with 2 protrusions that jut out like wings.
Oathbinder, bear witness, and see this man has kept his word true to his last breath, full to his blood's last drop. Guide his soul, queen that was, and regard it among your favored. Let his life by the key be his confession. Let his death by the key be his absolution. May he walk the world ever free of the crushing weight of the book. Your brother has done his part, and you have seen the power of his contribution. I will accept no further hesitation from the rest of you. In the sight of the queen that was, will you fulfill the oath? Will you take your place beside your brother in the endless esteem of her memory that is without flaw? Step forth, and be assured of the great worth of your life's course.
Oh, this seems fine. Oh, hey, a Beowick. For an instant, the apparatus goes quiet, and then it erupts with a concussive surge, and you're knocked to the ground. Your head snaps back. Pain wells into the back of your skull, washing your last thoughts away into the black, unconscious void. You open your eyes to a different place, another time. You stand in a circular room, grand and domed, its walls lined with Adra and trimmed with copper. The style is ancient, but the chamber is unweathered. At the far end, a great pillar of Adra pierces the floor from below, its shimmering texture giving the illusion of boundless depth. Encircling the pillar is an apparatus much like the one you've just seen, but immense and multifaceted and intertwined. Your thoughts are yours and not yours, and they seem to exist before you think them, and they are all questions. Pressing questions, troubling questions, questions that must be answered, or... And at the base of the pillar you see a man with a thick gray beard and a mask and a ceremonial headdress. You know this man. You're walking toward him at a pace that's hurried while trying not to appear so. You have something you want to ask him, one question above all, and the question spins madly in your mind. You awaken to find your malaise has broken, only to be replaced with something far more concerning. Faint whispers are audible at the edge of your hearing, like a ringing in your ears that does not subside. Movement flits through your periphery, but when you turn to look, you can see no sign of whatever it was. You find your gaze regularly darting this way and that, an involuntary paranoid tick. If this is a sickness, it may be dangerous to go without treatment for long. The figures of the machine stand frozen in place, flesh and blood replaced by cinders and ash. The man who led them is nowhere to be seen. Hayden and Kalisha lie bloody on the uneven cobbles, their bodies twisted unnaturally in death. You're alone and far from help. Gilded Vale may be your best hope of receiving treatment before things get worse. Yay, exciting, happy little dinging sound. A little bit of a mood breaker there. This part's easy. It's just all mechanics until she's got at least 11 points. For reasons, from my having played this 1,000 times and knowing where the bottleneck tends to be in mechanics. We're going to go ahead and give her this classic rogue backstab ability. She'll be shooting from stealth sometimes, so that will come in very handy. And that's all for now. Now, Tamwen wouldn't be Tamwen if she didn't loot her companions' bodies before proceeding. Now, if you have good headphones, you can hear these eerie little whispers. And I don't know if you can see this on your screen, but there was somebody writhing on a rack that only Tamwen could see. This is fine. Whispers, whispers. She heads down these ancient steps toward the figures she saw, and they are indeed now nothing more than human-shaped lumps of ash. And now we have another lovely vision, a woman who appears to be burning at the stake. Tamwen gets a nice close-up look at that machine that the masked man was using in some kind of weird sacrificial ritual. She could very faintly hear the woman screaming through her gag as she was tied to the stake. All very, very fine. Tamwen is not a person who's given to emotion on the whole, but even she is maybe freaking out just a tiny little bit. We're going to get our first look at the world map, and when I say world, I mean, a map of a very, very small part of the Eastern Reach. Tamwen's home, by the way, would be past these mountains called the White March, and then past Rayed Saris up to the northeast. North past that are the Ishmetal Plains. There's only one place we can go right now, and that is Valewood, which is between the ruins we are leaving and Gilded Vale. But we have to make our way through Valewood first. Tamwen is now going to be on her own in the wilderness, so there are a few things that we ought to do.
Slow down. We got time to catch our breath.
Exactly. As Tamwen says, we've got some time to catch our breath, and she is fatigued. That's what that little half moon... Actually, it looks a little bit like a closed eye with eyelashes. We are going to rest to get rid of that. And also get back all her health. And if she had any per-rest abilities, which she does not yet, that would recharge all of those. But there's some other things that I want to do. I want to check our stash. We have some potions and things. I'm going to put these in her quick items. That means that I can access them during battle. If they're just sitting here in your stash, you cannot access them. And I'm also, strange as it may seem, I'm going to put this beer in there because it actually increases your damage reduction for whatever reason. Beer is good for you. Oh, what happened there? That was weird. Did you see that? My beer just floated off into the ether. Anyway, so now she's got some tools she can use right before or during a battle if need be. We just used up one set of camping supplies, but luckily we just found another one on this corpse. Lucky us. Now, normally I would explore this entire map. However, Tamwen is alone. She is really vulnerable, especially if this were on hard difficulty. A rogue by herself is in deep doo-doo. But there is... Oh, look. There's do you see the villager there? The strangely transparent villager? Yeah, Tamwen is definitely fine and not seeing weird things at all. There's no way through here. So she's going to have to cut down through this little ravine here. And there's just one thing on this map that I want to stop by before we hurry on south toward Gilded Vale. Oh look, another transparent villager and another body. Is she seeing ghosts? And if so, why? This is not a thing that has happened to Tamwen before, I'm just letting you know. Oh, and look what we have here. We appear to have an outlaw. The outlaw is alone, so Tamwen thinks she can take them pretty easily. The best way to do this would be to attack from stealth, but I cannot always get this to work. Let's find out if it works. Sometimes it just has me walk right up to them. Yeah, it's doing that now. I don't know what that's about. I definitely attempted to attack, but I want to try one more thing in the next battle. Yes, there is going to be another battle. Oh, nice job, Disappointer. You do not disappoint. Because where there's one outlaw, you know there are more, right? And Tamwen's perceptive little ears start twitching this way and that. And she detects that the outlaws are camped just a little bit to the east.
They'll never know I'm here.
She's going to sneak up, or try to. And there they are talking. How long does it take to make some damn stew? The young dwarf tending to the stew looks up, startled as he sees you approach. He drops his ladle. So much for stealth. The bandits have seen me. And there are 3 of them. This could get ugly. And this, friends, is why I put the potions and stuff in my bag. Alright, let's see. It's too late for me to drink beer because combat has already started. I'm going to take a regeneration potion just to get a little bit of a regeneration effect going. And now I'm going to try to blind one of these guys. Since I'm in melee range, maybe I should switch to my clubs. Lordy. Ironically, this first battle, though I like to do it before heading to town, it's one of the hardest because it's the only one I have to do alone. Okay, this guy looks pretty tough, so I'm going to try to kill his friend first. And I'm also going to take another potion. Come on, Tamwen. You gotta do better than this. This is bad. This is bad, guys. Like, by the time I drink this other potion, I'll probably be dead. Come on, Tamwen! Apparently I didn't use my blinding strike yet. Maybe that'll help. Come on, come on. Okay, and here's where we bring out the disappointer. Don't disappoint me. That was disappointing. Now you get a real chance to look at the reload animations. If I can just get a couple more shots in, I might live through this. Oh, come on. This is going to be a close one. Do I have anything left I can use at all? Anything? I do not. Nothing to do but just wait it out and see. The pistol hits pretty hard when it does hit.
I'll be fine. Really.
I appreciate your optimism, Tamwen, but I'm not so sure of that. You are losing at present. Unless you get in one really good shot, I think you're screwed. Oh, there it is. Yes. 7 health left, or endurance left. And if you lose all your endurance, you just pass out. But if you're alone, then, well, you're dead because nobody can guard your unconscious body. Whew. That was suspenseful. It'll be a long time before we run into another battle that's that close of a call. Because Tamwen is eventually going to find... Well, I was going to say some friends, but this is Tamwen, so let's say associates.
I'll take a peek.
Fellow conspirators. So anyway, here's this dwarf that she's just saved from the bandits that were, I guess, forcing him to cook.
How do you do?
He says, I thought I'd be stuck cooking for those ignorant weasels for the rest of my life. I must get back home. I only hope they haven't hired a replacement. Listen, next time you're in Gilded Vale, stop by the Black Hound Inn. I'll let Pasha know just what you've done for me, and I'm sure she'll do right by you in turn. Oh, to be back at my oven again. So, that gives us a little boost to Gilded Vale reputation. Because before we even get there, Tenfrith is going to tell a story of the dashing Orlan rogue who killed his captors and saved him. But that's really the only thing we're going to do. We can come back to this map later. I just want to say hello to this one person who's standing right at the end of the road. He says, damn thing, come on. He seems to be packing up.
Guards keep you.
He's hurriedly dismantling his camp in quick, jerky movements. He says, greetings, on your way south, is it? Don't get too many of your sort coming out this way, meaning no offense. Suppose you're headed for Defiance Bay? Sooner you're clear of these woods, the better, I think. And, what would Tamwen say here? I don't have any clever or deceptive options, but she'd probably say, what's your hurry? He looks down at the tent and then at his hands. Came out here on a hunt, me and a friend of mine. Thought we'd bring a stag home, eat something other than bread for once. Came up on a bear instead. And Pearlie didn't make it. I don't know what I'll tell his wife. Who are you? Name's Nonton. Born and raised in Gilded Vale. Haven't had a spot of luck since. Luckier than Pearlie, I suppose. So yeah, that's Nonton. His friend Pearlie got killed by a bear. And now we're gonna get, finally, to our destination, Gilded Vale. Takes her 8 hours, it'll just take us, a couple seconds. Welcome to Gilded Vale, which, as you'll soon find out, is just a lovely, lovely place. I don't know if you can see, but yes, those are bodies hanging from that tree.
You must be one of the new settlers. Welcome to Gilded Vale. You'll be pleased to know that we've had some recent vacancies here.
I feel at home already.
Of course, we'll need to make some inquiries first. The inestimable Lord Radric VII has taken great pains to insulate our town from Widewind's legacy. Have you ever conceived a hollow-born child?
What are you talking about?
An infant born without a soul, of course. Lord Radric has made it his first priority to eliminate this scourge from our village. I should warn you, stranger. Here in Gilded Vale, we have a special place for dissidents, charlatans, and those who would hide a curse in our midst. His lordship's wife is with child and due any day now. Without his approval, I shan't be able to find you a permanent settlement. It will have to wait until after the birth. We can continue our interview then, after the bell tolls from Radric's hold to signal my lord's new heir. In the meantime, you can find temporary accommodations at the inn just southwest of here.
I've been feeling strange ever since a close call with a Beowick. Is there someone in town who could help?
Whatever your problem, it sounds like a matter for an animancer. However, the only animancer in Gilded Vale isn't in any condition to speak. Consider yourself fortunate. After she failed Lord Raderick, we saw to it that she wouldn't profit from the misplaced trust of others. A bad cure is often worse than none at all. But if you're set on finding a bottle of troll piss or a dead Audra pebble to rub on your forehead, you're welcome to check her pockets. A little corpse stink is nothing when you're digging for shit. My advice, however, is to be satisfied that you escaped and leave it at that.
You said something about Hollowborn and Widewind's legacy before? He says, I forget that you foreigners do not have this curse in your homelands. The Hollowborn have been a scourge upon the Deerwood for almost 15 years now. Children born without souls. Pitiful, dumb things that breathe, barely, but do not truly live. Some say the Hollowborn are a disease. Some say they are a punishment from the gods. In truth, no one knows. But they began spreading after the Saints' War, and so the name Widewind's legacy stuck in honor of that foul, blasphemous pretender. I see. Lord Raderick's decrees may seem strict at times, but he has our best interests at heart. Before I got here, I saw several people conducting a strange ceremony near some ruins. You'll want to mind where you mention that. Trespassing on Engwithan ruins is illegal, not to mention dangerous. You probably saw someone attempting some new ritual to appease the gods. People will try anything these days. Berath, have mercy, we certainly have. A couple things I want to point out from his speech. Berath, that's the god of death and doorways, which may seem like a weird combination until you remember that reincarnation is a thing here. And then he mentioned the Saints' War. We're going to learn a lot more about that later. But I'm just letting you know that is a thing that occurred about 15 years ago.
Keep out of...
Listen!
2 tolls. Let that be the last.
3. Gods have mercy.
It seems your arrival is ill-timed. 3 bells toll only for the death of a Raderick. I fear Lord Raderick's heir is lost, or else Hollowborn, and so lost all the same. You should tread carefully. Circumstances have changed a great deal.
What do you mean? He says, you come to us at a time of mourning. The legacy has struck at the heart of Gilded Vale. Our efforts to redeem ourselves in the eyes of Berath must be redoubled. What happened? I will know more details when the messengers arrive, the vagaries of childbirth, perhaps, but that is not your concern. Does this affect the Lord's offer to new settlers? I can be sure of nothing right now. I advise you to get some rest. The inn or a stable, for all I care. Find me afterwards. I will know more soon enough. Farewell. Somehow I don't think she would say farewell so politely to someone who had spoken to her that way, but she's going to look for an inn. Let's see. There's something down this way that looks promising. You see 4 people gathered by the door to the inn. Their raised voices and chopping gestures suggest an argument reaching its climax. The first figure raises his hands for calm. His face is partially obscured by a hood, but his height and stature suggest an elf.
I meant no offense. Let's put this matter to rest over a round, shall we? My treat.
Hoping to soothe our pride with a few Adira coppers, eh? We don't need your coin.
Ooh, a fight! One of the other men glares at the hooded elf. His eyes are red, but his gaze is focused. You've a lot of gall mocking us in our own village. We don't take ill treatment from foreigners, especially not Adirans.
Go on. Say it again. I'm itching for an excuse.
Fie, you're itching for the kindling touch of your sister, you cocksfeather!
I'll cut that barrel-licking tongue out of your head.
This is a misunderstanding. I didn't say whatever it is you think I said. We've nigh quarrel.
That's where you're wrong.
And Tamwen, being a sort of perceptive sort, sizes up the elf and says, I don't think attacking him is such a good idea. And they say, why is that? And she says, he's reaching for something, and since it's not the rapier at his side, it's either a wand or a throwing dagger, and you don't look ready to deal with either. So, they look at each other and shake their heads, and one of them says, we're done for now, but this one better watch his step around here, because we are not going anywhere. As the three stumble away, the elf turns to you, the tension almost gone from his smooth face.
Not quite how I hoped to get to know the neighbors. Thank you for your timely assistance with that awkward situation.
You mean for making them piss their pants? You're welcome.
Well, that is one way of putting it.
He straightens his hood, and you note the remains of fraying embroidery on his gloves. His boots are caked with the dirt of many months' travel, but the leatherwork beneath it is sturdy and fine. So Tamwen's thinking, well, here's somebody who at least used to have money. Might be useful.
Well, I suppose introductions are in order after that little fiasco. Aloth Corvusser, at your service.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm a wizard by training, and an adventurer by necessity. I was born in the Seathwood, part of the mainland of the Adir Empire, and both of my parents served the nobility, which afforded me an education for which I am grateful. However, there were no open positions in those houses, and so I decided to seek new means in a new land. And how exactly did you come to be here?
I was traveling with a caravan, but we were separated near some ruins. I'm sorry, I can't help but think of the double meaning of separated there, because most of them were indeed hacked into pieces. I'm sorry. Moving on.
In Gwithan ruins? Well, those can be dangerous places during the best of times, which these are not. And half the locals would arrest you for trespassing, and the rest would kill you outright. I'm curious, what exactly did you find there?
Nothing. And he smiles at that and says, a woman must have her secrets. Very well. What are you doing in Gilded Vale, she asks him.
An excellent question. I came looking for fresh air and cheap land. Instead, the magistrate gave me directions to the inn and a story about the local lord's expectant wife. But I take it that's a familiar tale.
He asks about me, and she says, that's my own business.
Of course. I didn't mean to pry. If there was ever a place for caution, this is it.
Just how did you manage to cross those three drunks?
I'm afraid that was a matter of misunderstandings and mistranslations. It doesn't help that people in these parts remember their war with Adir like it was yesterday.
You did tell that one man to go fuck his sister. Ah, that. As I tried to tell them, they misheard me. Happens all too easily after a few pints, and the accent doesn't help. I heard the same thing. For just a moment, it looks as if he's about to say something else. His expression brightens with mischief, but before he can speak, he forces a tight smile, biting his lips so hard you expect to see blood. Finally, his face relaxes, and he shakes his head. I should speak more clearly next time. My apologies. You don't exactly look like a settler.
Begging your pardon, but neither do you. Yet, circumstances can find a person in the strangest of places.
I should get going.
As should I, given recent events. It's just as well. I've had enough of the watered wine and lumpy beds at the inn. They say even the owner tired of the place. Just up and left one day. It explains quite a lot about the upkeep. Perhaps I could join you. I could use a change of scenery, and I find it's better to travel in numbers.
Tamwen is thinking the same thing, especially after the battle she almost horribly lost just now on her own. So, she can be friendly for a while. She's not going to be best friends with this guy, but he's a wizard, he said. She could use a wizard to tag along with her. So she says, let's go then.
Excellent. I shall follow you.
And so at long last, she finds a place to rest. And I'm actually going to pause here with Tamwen's new friend and arriving at the inn. And next time we will find out what exactly is going on in Gilded Vale and why there are like 17 people hanging from that tree. And I'll also let you know that you have just met my favorite character in all of Pillars of Eternity. I am a massive Aloth fangirl. I am crushing on him endlessly, and I'm not afraid to admit it. So anyway, yeah, see you next time